Hi everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the New Homes podcast, where we'll be looking at everything you need to know about the housing market. I'm Matt Nichol, and in this episode I'm with some industry experts talking through everything you need to know about buying a new build home. Joining me in the studio is Claire Jarvis, Group Sales Director from Redrow.
Hi Matt.
John Jarvis from Property Perspective, Help to Sell Agent.
Hello Matt.
Claire Edgerton, a solicitor from O'Donnell Solicitors.
Hi Matt.
And then finally Andy Mannion, RSC, New Build Mortgage Specialist.
Hi Matt.
We're going to be covering a lot of ground in this episode, every aspect of the home buying process from visiting the show home to the completion date. But I suppose to get the discussion started, it's worth asking some of those frequently asked questions. Let's look at the first step of the home buying process. So we've got people that are obviously going to go to a show home and have a wander around, come to a Redrow site. You tell me kind of what happens when they first come along to a site with yourselves?
Yeah, I mean, obviously most people will do the research online, so they'll have probably looked at new build. They may have not considered new build previously, so they've been looking at second hand as well. So they'll come along, our sales consultants will greet them, obviously we'll give them a lot of information, but the main thing is to have a look through the show homes, have a look at the specification, have a look at the house types and really understand what works from them.
And then Andy, I guess it all comes down to budget as well. So what happens when people come to see you about their finances? How does that work?
We can speak to people ahead of them visiting the Redrow home or actually whilst they're on site. We'll ask them a number of questions to establish their affordability, give them an idea of how much the mortgage is going to cost them, if they're in a position to buy, what deposit's going to be required, and also we'll have a discussion around what sort of documents they're going to need to provide us with in order to do a mortgage application.
So you map it out for them, show them what they're going to need for it.
Yeah, exactly, step by step, and obviously then they understand how much they can afford to buy and which properties that they might want to have a look at.
Okay, fantastic. So when people come to a site, Claire, I'll come back to you again. When they come to the site, what kind of questions should they be asking? What should they be trying to find out from the site staff?
I think it's no different to if you're looking for a second hand or a new build. The main thing is what are your key drivers for wanting to move. So it's going to be budget. So that's one of the first things we're going to talk to potential purchasers about is have you been qualified financially? What is your budget that you're looking at? What are your timescales? Because obviously we have a life cycle of a development. So we may have homes that are ready-made stock plots that are available for quite a quick move in if you need to. Maybe that you've got school dates coming up for your kids to get in, so you need to move in a bit sooner. Or it may be that you've got a job relocation and you don't want to move for another 4 months, so we might have later plots. So it's looking at timescales, budget, and then specific house types, really. What's important? Do you need a separate utility room? Do you need 3 en-suites? Because we have specific house types, the lifestyle range, that have en-suites with every bedroom. So it's really our team will work with you to really find out what are the drivers for you. What are your priorities that you're looking for from a new home?
And assuming then that they've found the chosen plot on the Redrow site, what's the reservation process? How does that work? Can you reserve something, or could you plan to reserve something that's not yet built? Is that an opportunity as well, Redrow?
We have a number of purchasers who'll buy off plan. So as I say, we'll generally release no further in advance than 6 months, because obviously we want to make sure that we've got the build stages there, that we're confident on those build dates that we're giving people for anticipated legal completion dates, really. So what we'll look at is ensuring that you're financially qualified, and then looking at that we have our experts that, you've got everything lined up that you can meet a reservation to exchange deadline. So from reservation to exchange, we are looking for purchasers to exchange within 42 days.
Okay.
So we need purchasers that are in that position, really, that they can do that, and we wouldn't encourage anyone to reserve who isn't in that position.
And so Andy would have financially qualified them and typically done an agreement in principle or got a mortgage decision in principle for them as well?
Yeah, so we'll confirm to Redrow that the purchasers are in a proceedable position, everything's okay with the credit history, and we've actually got them agreed in principle before they reserve the new home.
And then obviously what we'd also ask for them is which solicitor are you using? So we'll ask that quite early on in the process as well, because if you have got an existing home, it's really important that you look at using the same solicitor for selling your current home as purchasing the new home. And I'm sure Claire can sort of talk about the benefits of that more than I can.
Does that make it easier if you use the same solicitor for your sale and for your purchase?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it just takes one of the chinks out of the chain, because for us as solicitors, obviously we're aware of Redrow's timescales. We aim to get the buyers in that timescale. A misconception a lot of the time with buyers, certainly at the very beginning, is that we act for Redrow, and we don't. We're completely independent. We just know how new build works because we're the specialist in that area. So what we try and do is obviously encourage clients to get everything in as soon as possible. Once they've done everything with Andy, a lot of the information we can reuse. And like Claire said, if they've got somewhere to sell, even if they've begun that process already with another solicitor, if they can switch to panel, then with us as a preferred solicitor, it makes it a lot easier for them as a client.
Yeah, it's less people to speak to, I assume, as well. So.
Yeah. It's just and a lot of the time, if they have already in the process of selling their house and they've got a solicitor, the solicitors can sometimes they don't like another person coming in involved in that. Whereas we understand the timescales, and at the end of the day, the clients just want to be in the nice, shiny new home, and that's what we want for them.
And so, do you provide regular updates to the staff on site to be able to let the buyers know what's happening? I suppose you liaise direct as well.
Yeah, we do all of that, and even if the clients have got another solicitor and they're quite far down that process, we'll speak to that solicitor. We'll get them through the process together because that's what the aim is.
Yeah, fantastic. And John, if someone does have a property to sell, you do have a service that you can provide to alleviate that problem as well.
Indeed, we do. And I think this is one of the massive hidden benefits of buying a new build house. Basically, where we get involved is right back before the reservation process. So if someone presents themselves on site and they have a house to sell, one of our team will go out and give a robust valuation on their property, give them good advice completely independently of Redrow or an estate agent at that stage. We do seek the opinion of local agents as well, but we're able to send one of my colleagues out to sit down in their own home, value the house, get it market ready at that time as well, so that if they do decide to proceed with the valuation, we can get their house on the market as quickly as possible thereafter.
So you also give them some advice in terms of what they should do to get their house presentable as well?
We are able to do that, yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. So could you just remind us what that service is called? What you've got Help to Buy, but this is called Help to...
This is the Help to Sell scheme. The Redrow scheme is called Help to Sell, and obviously it is there. Redrow will also make a contribution to some or all of the fees involved in that, so it also works out good from an economical point of view as well.
Yeah, that's a real benefit to a purchaser that's got a property to sell then.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then do you liaise again with the sales staff on site to let them know so that they know what's happening all along?
Yeah, all the way through. So we're liaising during the marketing period of the house with both the customer and the site staff so that everybody knows what's happening. If an offer is presented on the property, we clearly are duty bound to let the owner of that house know first, but we'll also let Redrow know so that they can tie everything up and make it, an end-to-end service.
I think one of the points there is if one of our customers gets an offer on a Help to Sell and maybe it's 1,000, 2,000 below their asking price, it might be that we can do something to help make that work for them. So what we'd always sort of try and do is be aware of the offers and be able to move in on that basis if we could do something.
I think this is where it's really good that we all work together as a team as well, because we are all independent companies. But for instance, where people are in that situation, Andy can sometimes manage to get them borrow more on mortgage than they may have expected. Yeah. I don't know how you find it, Andy, but I've always found that people are quite surprised that they can borrow more than they expected to, and also it's sometimes cheaper than they expect as well.
It's always good to speak to us ahead of having your property valued. A lot of people don't realise how much they do need to achieve to get to actually move things forward and buy new property. So we can give them some ideas as to, differing deposit levels, the mortgages that are available right up front before they even speak to you guys about putting the property on the market to sell.
Yeah, I think people are always concerned as well. They always think it's going to take months to sell their house. Yeah. They're not sure of the whole process from start to finish. And, with the panel team, we can kind of talk them through all of that. Just as an example, I think the average time to sell a house in the UK, according to Rightmove at the moment, is in the region of 78 days. But through the Help to Sell scheme, currently, Property Perspective are managing to sell houses in an average of 39 days. So that's helping people actually get to a stage where they are proceedable and they can reserve the Redrow house that they really want.
And that's the great thing about the Help to Sell scheme is if you've got a house to sell and you go on the scheme with us, you're kind of in a pole position, especially if there's a particular plot that you're interested in. We'll keep you updated about that plot and the interest on the development as well.
Yeah, the importance for that client will be to get the property they want, but also if there's beneficial, fees covered and bits and pieces. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I think from our side as well, the clients feel like they've got a team behind them, because we all do liaise with each other all the time, and we're updating each other. And you know, if I'm struggling with a solicitor down the chain, I'm onto John's team. Can you give them a bit of a push for us? And it just works.
Fantastic. And do you find that the agents that you end up putting the clients with, they're on board with this as well? They're working hard to...
Agents really enjoy working with us.
Yep.
We market the property directly ourselves, and what we endeavour to do is actually get the best out of technology and out of traditional agents.
Okay.
So from someone who's trying to sell their house, from that point of view, we're actually getting them the best of both worlds. And we can actually demonstrate now, because of the way that the market works. You'll be familiar with the Rightmove and Zoopla lead system, where people actually now...
inquire through the portal, don't they?
Yeah, they inquire through the portal. They will register for an alert, so they know as soon as a property comes on the market. So we actually get the best of that. We can get the peaks of interest. We'll then instruct a traditional agent as well to work alongside us. And again, more peaks of interest. So it's our job to keep their house right at the top of those search lists on the portals for as long as possible. So we'll actually issue them with a marketing plan right at the beginning, completely transparently showing the various stages of marketing that we're going to do for their property throughout the process.
And I'm sure there aren't going to be any cynics listening to this, but your job is not to get it sold quickly, it's to get the maximum possible price.
Absolutely.
I assume because obviously if they are going to stretch and try and get the house they're trying to get to, you're going to try and get maximum value for them, not just sell it quickly. It's not.
Yep,
not
absolutely.
Yeah, but our aim is, with the Help to Sell scheme, is we look at sort of an average of about 6 weeks that we would like someone to sort of timescales to move their property sale on, really.
So you want motivation from them so that they can...
Yeah,
they can
I mean,
achieve
it's,
what they want.
you know, we're looking at realistic marketing prices to be able to, you know, sell the property within that sort of 6 weeks, really. But the customer is the person who confirms which price they want to go on the market with. It's not Redrow.
Yeah,
so
and I think
the price they're happy with.
That's important, because we do come across customers who are frightened of losing control, but they are completely in control. No one can make a decision about them selling their house, be it price, offer, whatever it may be. They are completely in control of that.
But they get assistance and advice all the way along as well.
All the way through. They've got someone holding their hand, basically, which you wouldn't get if you bought a second-hand house.
No, very true.
They've got their own property consultant, really.
Yeah, fab. So let's go back to what we were talking about. So we've done the reservation then. We've got the agreement in principle. Claire, can you talk us through the process? So a buyer out there might be able to understand what would happen next. So a reservation form's been completed. Where do you step in? What then happens from a conveyancing side of things?
It's basically from that point, we'll get a copy of the reservation form sent over to us. We'll open the file, we'll make contact with the clients that day and just say, you know, congratulations on the purchase of your new home, this is us, and talk them through what happens from there on in. Basically, it's no different on a new build to buying a second hand from the legal side, other than the timescales that are involved and the paperwork for us as solicitors. We'll open a file, the client care will go out, there's a lot of forms, but we have dedicated people who will then talk clients through it, because whether they're a first time buyer or whether they've bought 10, 15 years ago, it always is a nerve-wracking situation for them. So we talk them through it. We understand that to some people buying a new build, it's the first time they've ever done it. And people do think it's a lot different, but like I say, from our side, it isn't really. We just talk them through things and say, you know, you'll get your reservation, we'll do the client care next, send everything in. And like I say, with Andy involved, a lot of the information ID-wise and, you know, money laundering, we hear it all the time, a lot of the documents and the bank statements, Andy will have already talked through it from his side, so it's not then new. When they come to us, they send it all over, and then the contract papers come in. I think the one main difference is it's all front loaded. So the contract papers come in and they go out then straight away to the clients, because that's where they have a lot of the questions, you know, why does it say I can't build this on my house? It's my house, or why am I paying for this? So again, we get that out of the way at the beginning. All along, you know, if they're doing the Help to Sell, that's ticking along in the background. And I think from what John said there as well, it for clients, when their house is sold, they think, oh, that's it, done. But then, you know, the buyers will have a survey and something will come up on the survey. Like, what do we do? And Property Perspective will talk them through that, whereas sometimes they come to us as solicitors and other solicitors won't entertain, you know, oh, the guttering's broke, that needs fixing.
Yeah, they see it black and white and they almost put them off the process.
Absolutely. So whereas if they're on the help to sell, they, like John said, they hold the hand, and we do the same, but we're not kind of left out on our own to deal with that. We do it all as a team.
I think we try and manage people's expectations all the way through, and frequently we'll say to people, actually finding the buyer for their house is the easiest part. The work actually starts then, once they've found the buyer. Yeah.
So, Andy, we were talking about, obviously, the conveyancing process is underway. They need to get a mortgage.
Yep.
You've done an agreement in principle for them. You've found the best lender that's suitable for their needs.
Yeah.
What's the next steps for them? We talked about ID as well. That's another part we should probably touch upon about the Money Laundering Act. If you can just talk us through how it all works.
Yeah, so the first thing that we do once customers have reserved a new build property is we arrange a mortgage appointment with one of our consultants to meet with the purchasers, whether that be telephone-based or face-to-face. We offer them the option of either or. There's a number of documents that you need to get together to apply for a mortgage. We do speak to the customers about this as early in the process as we can. The main things that we need to secure a mortgage and to do an application is evidence of identity, proof of address, bank statements, pay slips, and also a big one is proof of deposit and where your deposit funds are coming from, which can be gifted from a family member, or if you've saved the money yourself, you need to evidence that you can supply that. Our mortgage consultants will then go out to see the purchasers of the Redrow home. We'll go through all of the products from the whole of the market. So we give clients options of all the products that are out there, even some exclusive products to Redrow that we're able to negotiate because of the size that Redrow are. So we've got some access to some Redrow exclusive mortgage products. And once the customer's decided that which product they want to go for, we will help them and take them on the journey of the mortgage application, get the mortgage offers issued for them, the property's valued, and then obviously liaise with Claire at the solicitors to ensure that exchange contracts go through smoothly as possible.
And do you find put words into your mouth, but is it a slightly quicker process by using you because you know Redrow and you know Claire and kind of tie it all together?
With being new homes mortgage specialists, we do have access to dedicated new homes teams with the majority of the lenders, and we obviously working as a team collectively and supplying information between us all. It means that the process is generally a lot quicker than.
And I think because everyone's aware of the 42-day reservation to exchange timeline, they focus on that to try and make sure that happens for the customer.
Yeah.
And is the criteria any different for a person wishing to buy a new build versus buying a second-hand property? Is there anything that people need to be aware of?
Not particularly. There's actually more mortgage products available for new build properties, and certainly there are some exclusive products out there just for new build homes.
Okay, and you just talked about exclusive products, but there's also the Help to Buy scheme as well, which is only for new build purchases. Is that right? Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so the Help to Buy scheme is where the government will give you up to a 20% equity loan, essentially towards your deposit for purchasing a new build property. You only need a 5% deposit, and you benefit from much more competitive mortgage interest rates, borrowing at 75%. So it's very, very cost effective to purchase a new build home under the Help to Buy scheme. It's available for first and second time buyers, and it can be used in conjunction with the Help to Sell scheme that Property Perspective can help you with.
Okay, and it can't be used with part exchanges, can it? So that's the difference then. So Help to Sell allows it to still be used.
Yeah, because the Help to Sell scheme, the customer is, in theory, selling their own house, then they can still use the Help to Buy scheme as well, which is, it's a terrific advantage to them in the marketplace.
So Andy, if you have sold your property using Help to Sell and you've got equity from your sale, you don't just have to go with 5% deposit and use Help to Buy, you can use more than 5% deposit?
Yes, you can, yeah. You can put more deposit down. It is all based on affordability and the Help to Buy affordability checks that we actually do when we qualify the customers up front before they go on the Help to Sell scheme. So yes, you can put more deposit down, and that obviously in turn will lower your monthly mortgage payments.
And I gather there's something out there saying that this might be changing though, Claire. Could you tell us about the timescales that Help to Buy is available?
Yeah, so the current lending period for Help to Buy, which is a government-backed scheme, will have changes coming in March 2021. And thereafter there will be regional price caps coming in. So whereas previously customers have been able to purchase up to £600,000, there will be these regional price caps which have been set. So that means, say, in the northwest, that's sort of 224,400, and it's different across the country. So that's been based by the government, have set those regional price caps. So those changes are coming in. So if you are looking to purchase with Help to Buy, we would encourage people to do that this year, because we have to have properties build complete by December, really, for someone to be able to purchase, be able to reserve, exchange within 42 days.
Yeah.
And obviously, if they've got a chain, sell with Help to Sell. So really, this is the year to sort of maximise using Help to Buy, because those changes will be coming in March 2021.
Right, okay. So if anyone is thinking of buying a Redrow home and they want to use Help to Buy, they really need to think about coming to see you sooner rather than later and coming to speak to your mortgage advisor.
I mean, obviously the scheme will continue after March 2021, but there'll be the regional price caps, and then also the scheme is coming to an end in 2023.
So Claire, then the Help to Buy scheme is going to help a lot of purchasers. Could you just tell us what it means in terms of conveyancing, and any extra work it adds to your day when someone buys with the Help to Buy scheme?
Yeah, so I think from our side, obviously we're used to dealing with buyers with the Help to Buy process, and I think if they were to use a solicitor who hasn't dealt with it, there's a heck of a lot of paperwork to read through just from the offset from Help to Buy. From our side, it really is essential that they use somebody like Andy and his team, because for the Help to Buy, it's there's a lot of intricacies on the legal paperwork, and everything has to match what we get from Help to Buy and the mortgage, and if it doesn't, it gets thrown back at us, which basically then delays the process, delays meeting that reservation deadline. So for a buyer, the only additional bit is it's a second mortgage essentially. So there's an additional deed that they have to sign, and there's an additional letter from us that says this is the details of it, this is how you repay it, this is what you have to do. That's it really from our side. It's just because we do it every day, it's easy for us to do, and it's easy for us to talk it through with the buyers, because it's something new to them.
So it gets explained by the experts. If they need your help, you can guide them through it.
Yeah.
In our first episode, we met a couple that actually bought on a Redrow site, and they commented about how it made the whole opportunity possible, because otherwise with their 5% deposit they wouldn't have been able to dream of buying a lovely home like they bought with Redrow. Do you find that people are kind of taking an extra step on the ladder because of this? Are they finding that the deposit's helping them to get further up?
Yeah, I think, obviously it's stretching their budget that bit more. So what we're finding is people, whereas they may have moved into 3-bed detached, they're sort of choosing to move into a 4-bed detached because they can do. Or it may be that, they can move to a different area that maybe they couldn't have done because they've just got that bit more funds available to them. But yeah, it's been a very popular scheme that the government have ran, and I think a lot of people are aware of it as well.
And I've seen on your website you've got it quite clearly marked on there, so if anyone's got any questions about it, they can jump on there. There's a few answers to some of the first.
Yeah, some of the sort of facts and questions. Any questions, or we try to sort of give any top tips really on Help to Buy and what it's about, etc.
But the staff on your site are all well versed on it. They understand it inside out.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Very much so. And as we said, they'll put them in touch with a new build mortgage specialist, whether that be Andy or one of the other preferred panel that we use across the country, to be able to get qualified, and they can talk them through the process as well, as can Claire or one of the solicitors in terms of the scheme. Because the other thing that we find is if they go off on their own and use a different solicitor, they're not aware of the different forms that have to be completed, so it does delay things. And also they can find that there's more work involved, so some solicitors will charge customers more money if it's a Help to Buy scheme, because it's making them do more work.
Right, okay.
Well, it does seem quite a complex process, I think, when people are approaching it, but broken down into small sections and dealing with experts makes it so much easier. I'm frequently asked, would you do the Help to Buy scheme yourself? And I've got 3 of my grown-up children who have actually purchased with the Help to Buy scheme, and that works for them really well. And it's enabled them, particularly with the deposit side of things, the 5% deposit, it's enabled them to buy sooner than they would have otherwise been able to do.
And Andy, so just to explain it, it's interest-free for the first 5 years?
Yeah, so the 20% equity loan is interest-free for 5 years. Customers have the option to buy out that equity loan at any stage during that 5-year period. It will be based on the value of the property at the time that they purchase that share. So basically, if you start with a 20% equity loan and 3 years down the line you decide that you want to pay that back, You can do that by either using some savings or increasing your mortgage at that stage. After the first 5 years, you're under no obligation to redeem the loan, but you will be charged interest. A small interest payment is made to the government after the 5-year period until you redeem the loan, up to a maximum of 25 years.
So Claire, if someone has got their mortgage sorted, you've done all the conveyancing, we've exchanged within 42 days.
Yeah.
A completion date's been set.
Yep.
How does that work? What's the next steps then? So money, where's the money got to be? Who's got to pay it? What's going to happen?
So from our side, how it works, once we've exchanged, we always contact the client, say, we've exchanged within the deadline, this is where we are. Keep in touch with site because they've got the most up-to-date build timescales. We don't, we're not building a house. No. We always say keep in touch with site. And one thing with Redrow is they do update clients all the time as to the build timescales, and they're aware, obviously, with the Help to Buy as well, the timescales that we have to be under with the documentation from that side.
And I think that's something is obviously when purchaser reserves, we'll make it clear that that's an anticipated legal completion date, but obviously there are factors outside of our control that can affect that, like the storms that we've recently had. Weather conditions is a big factor in where we're at with that build stage.
And also can be brought forward, I assume.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's not always going the other way. It can be brought forward.
And
as
that's why you'll get weekly updates with our sales consultants, keeping the purchaser updated, but also keeping everyone as part of the panel updated as well, so everyone knows what timescales we're working to.
So the notice to complete lands, we contact the client that day, say, great, you're moving in 2 weeks. We basically then prepare the completion statement. We request the mortgage money. So clients often think that they have to contact their mortgage company to draw down on the money. We do all of that. Same with the Help to Buy side of things. There's more forms to complete. We do all of that for them. Get the confirmation to developer, it's called, which is basically the yes from Help to Buy that they can buy that house and we can complete. We send the completion statement out to the clients, which basically details everything that they've already paid towards it, reservation fee, which is different to if they were buying a second-hand home. Everything is added in, and that goes out to them, and they make one final payment to us, and we send the money over to Redrow. Simple as that.
And then moving day, they get met by a Redrow member of staff?
Yeah, so moving day, obviously we'll be notified at our conveyancing head office that, the money's come across, so we'll then have our sales consultant who's been part of the journey with the customer ring and inform them that they've now completed. Generally the removals van may already be parked on site waiting for that call, and we'll obviously then get them moved in, obviously take them around the property, do meter readings, give them the keys, and also a little gift from Redrow to thank them for their purchase.
And I assume they get shown how to use any appliances and bits and pieces, obviously.
We actually do a number of visits prior to that as well, so it's not like you're just suddenly turning up on move-in day try and remember everything. So we have, during the process, we'll if you are buying sort of where you're buying a plot further in advance, so it is during the construction stage, we'll have a hard hat visit, which is generally its sort of first fix, so that's when we're just starting to look at electricals and plumbing items. So if a customer's bought some My Redrow extras, we'll run through that with a site manager, looking at everything's in the right positions, all their extras are there, and they can really get an understanding of the construction process as well. And we've had such good feedback from customers to understand that, particularly buying new build maybe for the first time. So you're really seeing the guts of the house, so to speak. And then also we'll do a home preview 2 weeks prior to completion dates. Once we serve notice, we'll invite the customer down to do that as well. And that's when our customer service manager will take them through the property, show them how everything works, make sure they're happy with everything. There may be something that they've spotted they're not quite happy with, and we'll address all that prior to moving in day. So when they actually get the keys, they should be sort of familiar with the house, but obviously excited as well, and they just want to get moved in.
I can well imagine.
Yeah.
I can well imagine. So it's nice they get to kind of see the construction and obviously the quality that's gone into it, but also they're very energy efficient, aren't they, new build properties? That's another thing we haven't really mentioned as the benefit of buying new build over second hand. But it's kind of seeing the level of insulation and everything else that goes into the construction at the early stage before the plasterboard and the paint goes back on.
Let's see all the guts of it is what we say.
And they've obviously still got the ability to come back to you, I suppose, if there is any need to.
Yeah, well, as I said, they've got obviously the Redrow customer service team there, so they can come back to us. They've obviously got a relationship that they've built up with our sales consultants as well as part of that journey, so they can always pop in and quite often do for a catch up. And it may be that there's particular things on the interiors they've seen in the show home and they want to find out where did that come from. They've also met the site manager during the hard hat visit if they've had that as well. So again, they've got that real nice support team there, but we always sort of say obviously go back to the customer service team who are dedicated to deal with anything after move-in day if they've got any issues. But I think the best thing about moving into new build is you've got that blank canvas, so you haven't had to come in and start cleaning someone else's mess and start stripping wallpaper and everything else. It's you've moved in and you can just put your stamp on it.
Blank canvas, but something we haven't really kind of focused on, but we did in our previous conversation, was about the choices you get as well. I mean, you can choose at the point when you're buying, if it hasn't been constructed and there's not a floor in it, you can choose your own flooring and everything, can't you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're buying further in advance, you've got more opportunity to purchase extras. Depends on the build stage, but also you can make your own choices to kitchens, to tiles within the bathrooms and wet areas. You can purchase extras, like I say, from flooring, conservatories, you name it. We pretty much offer it on My Redrow Extras, anything that we know that our customers want to buy as an extra. So what that means is you can move in on move-in day and have all your flooring in, ready to just put your furniture in place.
Yeah. Thank you, Claire, that's great. And thank you everyone for joining us today. We've covered quite a lot, so really appreciate your time and thank you for your input.
Thank you.
That's all for this episode. Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think on Facebook and Twitter, especially if you have anything you'd like us to cover on any future shows. See you next time.